Hey guys, Gabe here. I just wanted to let you know that today, the day that this goes out, which is July 3rd, is the last day to take part in the Kickstarter for my brother's RPG, The Mountain Witch. So I seriously implore all of you to go and check that out right now. If you haven't checked it out already, go there, go to Kickstarter.com, type in The Mountain Witch, and check that out. Contribute, get a copy. It's going to be awesome. So thank you all so much. Have a great 4th of July. Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we have two very special guests with us today, Garen and Dan from D&D Character Lab.
Woo. Hey guys, it's Garen.
Hey, it's Dan.
Yes, welcome guys. I'm so glad to have you guys here. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you. Fantastic. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. Thanks for having us on the show. It's a beautiful rainy Sunday here in Florida.
Yeah, it's been a Sunday full of D&D, so it's not a bad Sunday in my book.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's we're up in Michigan and it was raining a little bit earlier, but it's been pretty nice out today.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, Jeff, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Enjoying the weather. I kind of like post-rain, like summer, where it's sort of cool, where it's not quite, it's so muggy because all the moisture has kind of found its way to the ground instead of all over the
Yeah.
I hate humidity so much. I hate it. It's the worst. I like you mentioned Florida, and I'm like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't live in like a high humidity area like that.
Sure.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Garen and Dan, why don't you tell our listeners about your show? I know we mention you guys a lot, but if you want to tell us about your show and what's going on?
Yeah, sure. We're a weekly podcast. Competitive in nature. We each bring an originally created character at various levels every week and score those characters against a predefined table of criteria, and we argue one another in each category until one of us reigns supreme. We feature a lot of different third-party content as well as content from Wizards of the Coast official, and currently we are operating only under 5th edition.
Yeah, I love your show. When I first listened to it, it was recommended to me by Justin from Crit Academy, and I was listening to this, and within like 5 minutes, I was like, "How does this not already exist? This is amazing! I love it."
Yeah, when Gabe first told me about it, I think it was around the time you guys made the turtle characters. Mm-hmm. I love turtles. Just it's my favorite animal ever since I was a little kid. So like when they made the turtle race, I was like, yes, absolutely. And then Gabe was like, you got to check these guys out. They made turtle characters and pit them against each other. I was like, okay, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys do a really good job.
Did you by chance get interviewed by the news media when you were a child about your love for turtles?
I'm not sure if I remember correctly. I just remember a lot of face paint or something. I don't know. No, that was not me. That could have been me, but that was not me. But
yeah.
And also to display like how good you guys are at competing with one another. I don't know how Gabe is going to edit this, but you guys were sort of fighting over who got to describe your show. So that was very on brand.
Yeah.
Well, if you want me to do a take of it with less ums and uhs, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I think we're gonna have a good episode today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
You guys got anything else going on that you want to tell our listeners about?
Yeah. Anything you guys want to plug or anything like that?
No, not that I can think of. No.
Garen, really?
What are we plugging?
Well, if anybody likes our show and wants to check out our Patreon, we are patreon.com/DND Character Lab.
There you go. I am myself a patron, so I can give everybody a thumbs up. You guys have come out with a lot of like bonus episodes and stuff, and a lot of them are really, really good. Sorry, all of them are really good. I mean, there's a lot of them, and they're good.
No, it's okay. Some of them are crap.
Okay. Now, I just kind of put all my podcasts in a big pile when I listened to them. You guys did an episode from the D&D Wiki. Was that a bonus episode or was that a normal episode?
That was regular.
Okay, that was a really good episode. I was telling Jeff about your poop monster episode.
Excuse me, that was a toilet monster?
I'm sorry, my mistake.
Well,
toilet monster.
They were both poop themed though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Dan's came from poop, and mine was just all about that poop.
Yep.
Great.
All right. Well, do you guys want to go ahead and get into the episode?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, Garen, if I'm not mistaken, you have an intro for the Dragon Sword today?
I do. Are you gentlemen ready?
Okay.
I guess so. I guess
Okay.
I'm as ready as I have to be.
Right.
Well, I want to take you to a cramped, humid building. I know how much you love humidity, Jeff.
Jeez.
The lights are so low, but the sound is blaring. The two of you find yourself at a ska concert.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
And as Mustard Plug jams on the stage to one of their many songs that sound very much alike. The horn section playing their horns. The guitar player playing chords mostly. You two begin to skank with the rest of the crowd. So I'm going to need a performance check from both of you. A skank check.
Oh,
Okay.
Skank
All right.
check.
I don't have a high
Come on.
Oh, no.
My
did
skank
you-
modifier is really
oh,
low.
no.
Oh,
I got a 4. Jeff, is that a 2?
that's a 2.
I think we just kicked each other.
So this being your first time at a ska concert, I assume, you're not familiar with skanking yet. So as your limbs start to flail akimbo, you intertwine with each other and tumble to the ground.
Oh no.
So now I need a dexterity check with disadvantage as you are about to be trampled by the skank mob.
Oh, no, disadvantage. Okay. Well, that's another 4
see how-
and an 8. So a 4 for me.
Mine was
Oh.
a 6.
Okay, the
This
feet,
is not our day.
the feet stomp on your backs and your heads. You guys are momentarily confused, taking some amount of bludgeoning damage, but you manage to recover yourselves. The music of Mustard Plug giving you the energy to go on. And as you see the crowd starts to part at the base of the stage, something glimmering amongst all of the sweaty bodies and checkered t-shirts. You push your way through the mob, occasionally avoiding another skank attack. When you reach the stage, you catch something in the low, dirty light bulbs that you've never seen so beautiful. You have found the Dragon's Hoard.
I have to say, that was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Good job.
A ska-themed Dragon's Horde.
Yes, I want to say I've been to 2 ska concerts.
I've definitely been to ska concerts too.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a thing referred to as skanking.
Oh yeah, it's this dance where you kind of kick and you put. I'll show you later.
Okay.
I'll show. I'm not going to show you myself. I will show you a video.
Okay.
I think that should be a video of you, Gabe.
Yes.
I'll see what I can do.
All right.
So, in addition to that wonderful intro, you guys also have a magic item for today as well.
Yes, we do. So today's magic item is called the Vertebral Sword. It is a very rare weapon, and it is a sword forged from the curved, elongated spinal column of a caudal, or quaddle.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Does anyone know?
I say koaddle.
Quaddle? Let's go with koala.
Yeah.
I'm more
Koala.
concerned about the fact that I'm pretty sure it's vertebral.
No, listen.
And also, it's not sword.
Yes, it's also not sword.
Everyone stay in your lane. It's vertebral. And it's sword. Now,
But really, let's focus on the fantasy monsters pronunciation.
the one thing that doesn't actually exist.
Now, let me start over. It's a sword forged from the curved, elongated spinal column of a quaddle. The bearer has +3 to all attack rolls and +3 poison damage on attacks. On 3 consecutive missed attacks with this weapon, the sword's spine begins to reanimate and turns into an aggressive and combative quaddle before you.
Oh my.
Yes. So it's one of these things that you probably find in your campaign. You know, you're mystified with the fact that it gives you these special bonuses, but then once you hit 3 consecutive misses, it turns on you.
Oh my goodness.
So it attacks you. It doesn't attack for you.
No, it is combative towards you.
Oh man, that's That's really cool because it's really powerful. It's a +3 weapon, correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah, but then, if you miss, 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like a ticking time bomb sort of thing, and like it's a powerful weapon that you could give to the party early on, and then they'll be like, "Wow, okay, yeah, I'll take it, sure, fine," and then 3 bad rolls, which is bound to happen because especially if I'm rolling, it's not gonna be
as evidenced earlier. Now, let me ask if one person misses with it and then hands it to somebody else, does the counter reset or does it continue?
No, 3 consecutive misses in the same party doesn't matter.
Okay, then here's what I see happening if such an item shows up in the campaign. One person misses with it, they miss with it again, then they put it away and never get to use it, or choose to never use it again because they're afraid that it's gonna kill them.
I mean, you wouldn't necessarily tell them that,
but that's true.
Oh no, that's complete secret. They wouldn't know that. Yeah, they wouldn't know that. So we did an entire blog post on our now defunct website, dndcharacterlab.com, called Evil Magic Items, and we had a bunch of magic items that the party would discover, not knowing their evil caveats.
Sure. Well, I think that's really cool. I do like when items have a powerful benefit but also a powerful drawback. It's best to find a way that the drawback will actually be significant to the person using it.
What is the CR of a what's it again?
Koala is
giant koala.
4. Whoa, only a 4. I thought it was a lot higher than that.
I mean, that's still that's supposed to go up against a party of level 4 characters. That's not, that's not nothing.
Maybe they were more powerful in earlier editions. I thought I remembered them being like 15th level and having like all sorts of really high level spells or something.
Yeah, I mean they're still an AC of 19 with 97 hit points. So I mean it's still a pretty formidable foe just for missing. I mean, and you got to remember, you're in combat when you're using this thing, and then all of a sudden a Coatl is also going to appear, and that's just going to add to your list of problems.
Fly 90 feet, true sight 120 feet. These guys are no joke.
Yeah,
and you no longer have the sword. So you also have that going against you at that point.
That's true. That's true.
Oh,
yeah.
Jeez. It has damage immunity of psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, and non-magical weapons.
How this thing is CR4 is beyond me.
I have no idea.
I think it's because it's lawful good.
Maybe
it's not something that's intended to be in like an actual physical encounter. It's more just to have stats for it, I guess. But like maybe it's a lower CR because it's not something that the players are going to actually fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
But this one you will, because it's really pissed off it got turned into a sword.
Yes,
right.
This one, like it gave you a gift of of this +3 weapon, and it just got really mad at you for rolling those single digits.
Yeah. Have you guys listened to the podcast The Adventure Zone?
Of course.
Okay, cool. I love it. But there's a magic item that one of the characters gets in that is, if I recall, a shield that if you tell it a story about a time that you fought, like let's say you're fighting orcs, if you tell it a story about a time that you fought orcs, it gains an additional AC bonus against orcs.
Yes.
But I think you can lie to it if you haven't actually fought one of these things. But if you fail a bluff check, or a deception check rather, it becomes like non-magical or something like that. Maybe I'm getting some of those details wrong, but this kind of reminds me of something like that.
Yes, there is definitely a penalty, because I remember Magnus tried to lie to it about robots.
Yes.
Wasn't it that like the image of that feat was like inscribed on it?
Yes,
or something like that.
That's a cool item. But no, I think this sword is really cool. What was the sword called again?
It was called the vertebral sword.
The vertebral sword.
That's right.
All right.
Well, you made me think that maybe like if you miss the third time and it changes, you can try to like tell it that no, wait, I actually did hit. You can try to convince it that you didn't miss.
Yeah, that's a good question. Can you try to bluff the Coatl once it tries to attack you?
You can always charm it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lawful good. What is it? A celestial? It's what, intelligence 18? I'm sure you could reason with it.
Wisdom 20.
Yeah.
This thing's stats, its lowest stat is a 16.
Basically born yesterday.
Yes. I really like this item because it's relatively simple. It's a +3 sword that also does 3 poison damage. but it's got that drawback, and that drawback is really where it's going to get interesting. I could see myself giving this to the players and cursing every time they hit on that third attack. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh yeah, because it has to be consecutive, right?
Yeah.
So like you're as a DM, you're like, oh man, here it comes.
It's gonna happen, and then dang
Well,
it.
I mean,
they
it's
rolled
bad
a
enough as a player when you miss 2 attacks in a row. I mean, when I miss
Right,
2
yeah.
attacks in a row, I'm like, I'm cursing at the table, and then on that third miss, the player's already very upset, and then the DM just throws in this little bit of extra news. Just ruins the day.
Yeah, I once, a long time ago, I was running an adventure where I was pretty sure the party's rogue was going to try to, like, just steal some stupid stuff from these poor commoners. And as a way to, because this was back when I was a terrible DM, I think, and as a way to sort of get back at the player rather than just telling him, like, dude, why are you doing that? You don't need whatever. Anyway, to get back at him, I was planning on one of the things he had stolen to turn out to be, like, a magical artifact that was hiding this powerful demon or something, and once he took it away from, like, the temple he got it from, it was going to shatter and the demon was going to kill everybody. But then the player ended up not showing up that day, so it didn't happen.
That showed him.
Yeah, that showed him all right. Whereas nowadays, if I had an issue with something a player was doing, in theory, I would talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Or I would just ask myself why I had an issue with the rogue being a rogue. I don't know. Anyway, so that was the vertebral sword.
Yeah.
I hate you both.
So thank you guys so much for bringing that item. I think that was really cool. So I think that will do it for the Dragon's Hoard today. Jeff, if somebody wanted to submit Dragon's Hoard items, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they do so?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com.
Yes. Before we go any further, we have a drawing for the Chapel on the Cliffs adventure from Goblinstone. So, in case anybody doesn't know about this, we have this adventure that we're giving out every week. And today, this week's winner is Peace Joy Pancakes.
Winner.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Woo! You should be getting that in your email within the next 24 hours. If you don't, let me know. Also, be sure to check your spam folder because they always end up there.
Yeah.
So, let us know if you haven't gotten it and we will get you sorted out. If anybody wanted to enter this drawing, Jeff, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with the subject line, Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes, it is that easy. And also, we wanted to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We've got some cool rewards on there. We actually just got another patron, another top tier patron,
Nice.
in fact. So we want to thank our new patron, Doug W. So thank you so much, Doug. We really appreciate your contribution. And I'll be getting in touch with you pretty soon, if I haven't already, about writing a character story for you.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Doug.
Yes, thank you so much. And Garen and Dan, if you would like to plug your Patreon again as well.
Yeah, that would be www.patreon.com/D&D Character Lab.
Yes, and you guys have a whole bunch of rewards. You have like bonus episodes. People can, they can kind of curate parts of your show, if that's correct.
Yeah, so we offer bonuses of people being able to name our characters as well as come up with scenarios for both our Spitting Fire and our Smooth Operator portions of our show, which basically are the charisma-focused, non-combative ways of handling situations for the player.
Yeah, so if anybody, if you can only support one Patreon, support us. If you can support two, support D&D Character Lab as well. And then also we have some other great friends over at Crit Academy, critacademy.com. They create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike, and they're really good. I'm sorry, once again, what is could you guys tell our listeners where they can find your podcast?
It's on SoundCloud.
No, Garen. God damn it. Yeah, so you can go ahead and find our show wherever you hear podcasts. We're available on Google Play Store, Apple, iTunes, podcast app, also available on SoundCloud and Stitcher.
Yes, awesome. All right, you guys want to go ahead and get into some discussion questions?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, our first question comes from Shadowhand Silverbones. This was on Steam.
Yes.
How do you remember everyone's character names?
Yeah, I thought this would be a good question for you two, because you guys make characters every week, And you guys always you do a really good job coming up with cool and interesting names and names that really fit the character, except when they are submitted by a patron. So I wanted to ask, like, how do you guys remember character names, whether it is the character names of your characters on the show or just in the games that you play in?
Yeah, I think, especially when it comes to the show, it helps that we're sitting down right there and I got my character in front of me. Dan's, I'm going to be honest, when we're doing the show, I usually don't remember his names because they're so stupid.
Wow.
Shots fired.
I'm not
sitting
going
at
to
the
argue
table-
that. It's true. They're pretty bad.
But sitting at the table, I like to really feel like we're in the moment, and I think our table also encourages role play as much as we can. So I think it's just a little smoother because you kind of feel like the person is who they're supposed to be. Yes, sometimes for me, I do fumble on it a little bit, especially when Dan died recently and he had to come back with a new name. So I think we all slipped up there a little bit.
Yeah. I like to refer to everybody else by their character names as much as possible. I will, even if I'm talking to them out of character, I will still try to, especially when I'm the DM, because I need to, when I'm the DM, I really need to remember everybody's names. So I try to refer to everybody exclusively by their character names.
Yeah, Gabe, that's actually a good point. We had a new member of our party just join, and I actually knew his character name because I knew him in my head as his character name before I actually could remember his real name. So
Sure.
That's a good point.
I don't know if you guys have, I've mentioned before that I often do, about every month, I do a D&D game at my local library. Like I run a game just for whoever wants to show up. And so a lot of people come through that way. And so I try to write down their name and their character's name, and then try to refer to them as their character's name so that, I can get them into fit them into the narrative and everything. And at our most recent one of the players, their character name sounded more like an actual name than their name. It was a girl, and I want to say her name was Legion. Like, her actual name was Legion.
Okay.
Wow.
But then her character's name was, like, Angelica or something.
Huh.
And I had to specify, like, oh, no, I'm asking what your character's name is. She was like, oh, yeah, my character's name is Angelica. I was like, oh, then what's your name? Legion. Oh. Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, it's a cool name.
It's a pretty boss name, yeah.
But yeah. So I try to, that's my main thing is just to refer to everybody by their characters' names. I try to write down everybody's names at the beginning so I know, and I write down there, if I'm meeting the player for the first time, I'll write the player's name next to the character's name. So,
well, to help remember my characters' names, I have to come up with them first.
that's true.
But speaking of names, character names, didn't you have a character once, Gabe, that had a cohort?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the character's name?
The character's name was Saythorn.
Okay. What was the cohort's name?
Saris.
So Saris and Saythorn.
Yes.
So you had two characters named Saris and Saythorn.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever get those mixed up?
Some people did, not me, of course. I knew my characters' names.
So it's just a running joke with Gabe that with our mutual friends against Gabe that he had these two characters named Saris and Saythorn, and we could never remember which one was the caster and which one was the fighter. You
guys would just refer to my contribution to the game as Chronic S Block.
That's right. I think Steve came up with that one.
Yeah.
Or maybe Jay did that one. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think it might have been Steve. But I find that, like, even if I know somebody's name, I'm not guaranteed to know how their character's name is spelled. Because, like, there have been times where I've been trying to, like, write something about a character that I played with a long time ago, and then I talk to the person and find out that I had it spelled all wrong. Like, I think our friend Chris, who was on the podcast a while ago, Chris Sound here.
Dang.
I was incorporating one of his old characters into a 5th edition game that I was running a couple of years ago, and I thought his name was Orin. I thought it was spelled like Auron, like in Final Fantasy X.
Oh, sure.
But then it turned out, no, it was like Orrin or something, and I'm thinking to myself, I must have never learned his name by text. I only learned it by sound.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you never know how many apostrophes are going to be in like an elven character's name.
Yeah,
Yeah. The more that they have in their name, the higher
rank they are.
The higher rank they are, obviously.
Yes. Any more tips that you guys have about remembering everybody's character names?
Well, Garen, you also run a campaign with quite a few NPCs. How do you go about memorizing all those names?
I've always been pretty fortunate with memory, but I write all of my notes for the campaign in a little moleskin that I just keep in my hand. So I'm constantly flipping back and through the pages, kind of, refreshing myself as we move along through the moments.
I'm always trying to keep notes. Anytime I play, I have a notebook on hand, but it's madness. I'll write names down, but I won't write them and then a description or anything like that, because it's in the middle of a role playing or something like that. So I can't, I don't want to be too distracted. So I'll write it down in the corner of the page or at the top of the page or something. And then later on, I'm wait, who was the name of that one guy? Or I'll come across the name later on and have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
So So taking notes is a good idea, but you got to take good notes.
Sure. I didn't even think to associate this with remembering NPC names.
Sure. Yeah.
I do similar to Jeff. I write down names, but I rarely put a description. So then, someone's like, hey, what was the name of that merchant? And then I see a list of 20 names and I'm like, oh,
shoot.
If I'm DMing, I will sometimes try to do stuff to help the players remember their names. It often ends up going unused, but there have been times where I've made a wiki site for myself with all the NPCs and characters I've met and then a brief description of them. But I usually find that I put a lot of work into that, and then, like I said, just nobody uses it, which is kind of a shame, but I can't really, I can't blame them for not caring what all these NPCs were doing,
Yeah, it kind of helps. It kind of helps with you telling the story and stuff like that.
That's true.
But I don't know, having those resources are nice, but it's not. We've talked about, I think the last couple episodes we talked about using tech in in D&D, but it's having that sort of resource on a computer or something like that. It's a little bit more distracting than it is helpful sometimes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next question comes from Servant of Gaben. Oh, that's right. It's the Steam Summer Sale.
It is the Steam Summer Sale
as
right
of
now.
this recording.
Yeah.
This was on Reddit. Do you have a character or character type that you play in every campaign?
Well, we like to on our show we like to feature the 12 base classes as much as we possibly can. However, there are clear favorites for both Garen and I. I am very, very partial to monks. I don't know how many people are, but they're one of my favorite classes, and I like to use them as often as I can, or multi-class into them. Just a really fun class.
Was it you that did the monk turtle?
No, that was actually Garen.
Okay, all right. I had thought it was the other way around. So yeah, we were sort of flipping there.
Yeah, I really like monks, but I've never gotten a chance to play one for more than one session. So I guess my first character I played for a few. Anyway, I've never been able to play one for a long period of time. So I don't know. It's a neat idea, but I don't know. I don't ever want to take the chance with them.
That's fair. They're very weak at low levels.
Yeah. But as far as a character or character type I always play, I tend to try and make every character as different from the previous character I played as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also the kind of person that if there's a role that isn't being filled, sure, I'll take that. I don't really have any character types I won't play, except I'm not a huge fan of nature-themed characters like rangers or druids. But, if the party needs a healer, I'll make a cleric. If the party needs a trap finder or whatever, I'll make a rogue. I'll try to make it as unique as I can. So I don't really have this problem. However, I do have a specific character that I have played in several campaigns, but it's only because the character, he was a 4th edition Deva, and in 4th edition Devas were explicitly these creatures that whenever they died, they would be reincarnated somewhere else in a different body. So I use that. I really like the character, and so I use that as an opportunity to say that this is the same character I played in that other campaign, but he died and he woke up here.
That's a fun loophole.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, if a DM ever was like, no, I don't want you to play a character you played in another campaign, that's fine. I won't. But I always run it by them and see how they would like that. Because I would like to have this character that I've played him in 10 different campaigns, and he's got like stories from each of them.
Yeah, and we always like to hammer that point home too. A lot of the content that we feature is not going to be suitable for every campaign at every time. So running new character options or any supplements that you're thinking about using that are not Wizards of the Coast official, running that past your DM is always a great idea.
Yeah. Personality-wise, do you guys have like personality types that you play in every campaign, or often compared to other types?
I'm often guilty of playing a protector type.
Okay.
I like to be I like to be looking out for the rest of the party. Sure. And so that's leaned me towards clerics, and playing an ancestral guardian barbarian right now, which is the most protector type of barbarian. And then I even multi-classed him into a paladin. And I don't even care for paladins, but it just,
just felt right.
I've talked about this enough on another show. I don't know why I don't like paladins, because as I say, I like to play protectors. That's what I should want to play all the time. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The flavor of paladin can it doesn't always fit with like a character idea. I think I favored paladins for a while, but I don't know.
I do like what they've done in Xanathars and some of the third-party content. We like to feature Midgard Heroes Handbook by Kobold Press a lot in our show, and they've really opened up that class with some pretty interesting archetypes that don't always have to be this lawful good hero,
When we first started playing D&D, we had a good friend of ours that we would play with a lot. His name was Jay, and I feel like every character he played, even when he was like trying not to play that same character, ended up becoming the same character. It was always like he would be the guy that was similarly the protector of everybody, and he was whatever his alignment was on his sheet, he would always end up playing him lawful good, and then it was always like he was always a dwarf or something.
He was usually a dwarf or
So I mean, you're talking not only personality wise. I mean, the build would be very similar every time as well.
Kind of.
That was just Jay. He was like he loved playing the protector hero type. Like he wore like Superman shirts all the time.
Yes.
It's just like that was just his way.
Yeah.
One thing that we also like to stress a lot, I know we're talking about, what we talk about on our show all the time, but one thing that we like to talk about with character creation is, we emphasize the importance of building a very strong backstory, because like, even though you're coming in as a level 1 hero, you weren't born right there on the battlefield.
Sure.
You had come from somewhere, you have some sort of a backstory, and that's going to inform your decisions moving forward, and it's also going to influence whether you're going to multi-class or those types of things, which should help create some sort of variety when you play different characters. But it may be difficult not to fall into certain patterns, for sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do want to commend you guys. Like, you guys come up with some really cool, detailed backstories for a character that ostensibly is only going to be, I guess, relevant for like an hour. So
very frustrating.
Good on
yes.
you. I'm curious if someone. I feel like I know the answer to this question before I ask, but if someone like emailed you and said, "Hey, I want to play this one character you guys made in my campaign," how would you give them your blessing? Would you?
Yeah, we just asked for
no?
We just asked for $1,000 and it's all theirs. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Sure. Not a big deal.
Let me check my funding here.
If you do that, if you email us and say you want to play the character, I'd be happy to write up a level 1 version of the character for you.
Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question is from Jake, and he asks, do you feel that beast races are appropriate for a party? Orcs, Hobgoblins, Kobolds, Bugbears, and Yaun-Ti are all good, but what about a doppelganger, frost giant, centaur, or maybe a displacer beast? How far can one go if they want to play a monstrous race? Now, aren't minotaurs and centaurs coming through like in the next Wizards supplement?
I think they might.
So they did do an Unearthed Arcana with centaur, yes, as a playable race.
Yeah. Well, like I remember there was like one that was like equine. It like had the ability. It wasn't powerful build, but it was like equine build or something like that, where it kind of had powerful build, but then it had like disadvantage on like climbing checks because it's
because it's a horse.
Because it's a horse, so it had had some difficulty on like rough terrain or something like that. But yeah, anyway, monstrous races. I really liked Savage Species in 3rd edition. That was one of my favorite books. I think that was the first D&D book beyond the Player's Handbook that I ever purchased. I'm not even sure if I ever purchased a 3rd edition Player's Handbook. I think I just borrowed it.
Maybe.
But yeah, I like monstrous races for playable races. But yeah, I do feel like, I mean, not even just stat wise, just like putting them in there, like half of the monstrous races that are popular are ones that are like affected by sunlight. And
sure.
How do you deal with that?
Now, didn't you guys do an episode about making monster races? If I recall, there was a shambling mound paladin.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this is actually up on our Patreon as one of our Fight Club episodes where we actually take 2 of the characters that we've created and have them duke it out against one another, hand-to-hand combat. And there was a supplement by a guy named Tyler Kamstra over on the DMs Guild, dmsguild.com, and it's $4. He created all of the monsters from the monster manual into playable races.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's worth the money right there.
Yeah. So with that book, in theory, you could make a Displacer Beast PC.
Yes.
A Displacer Beast bard. He's his own backup dancer.
Oh, that's good, actually. I was going to say a rogue, because then they could, like, with those tentacles, like, reach around and, like, grab something out of someone's pocket.
Sure.
And then if they saw him, well, it doesn't matter, because he's over there.
It was him. He did it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think, this goes back to... We really like to stress backstory in our character creation, and I think that if you have a backstory that somehow explains that a typically normal race would make a good PC, or at least a PC that would work with a party well enough to make it work. I think that, my answer is yes, because I think that this game is about, limitless creation.
I'll take a stance here.
Okay.
I actually don't like monstrous races.
Uh-oh.
I mean, unless that's the point of the campaign.
Sure.
It's just that, like, I feel like if you're going to be playing a monstrous race, or like a non-common, I don't even know how to put that. Just like a
core race.
I was going to say normal, but that just sounds awful. I don't mean to say that one type of character or person is normal and everybody else is wrong. Just like if you're going to play something like a Yaun-Ti, I feel like the kind of what you're going to be going for is the fact that your character is different than a standard race. So I feel like to play a Yaun-Ti and not have that constantly cause problems would kind of be doing a disservice to playing a Yaun-Ti. Like, why are you playing a Yaun-Ti if you just want to act like any other character?
Right, if you're just there to look cool and get the stats of the monster. It's like, yeah, I want to look cool and be this unique, race and have the stats of that, but I don't want anything else that has to do with it. I don't want any of the downfalls or anything like that. That's sort of a, I don't know.
Yeah, so if the point of the campaign was that, like, there's going to be a lot of issues with people not being accepting of a beast race or something, I could get behind that, but even with the players that are in the Player's Handbook, I already don't really like Dragonborn, for example. I won't ever tell a player they can't play a Dragonborn, and I won't ever discourage them from doing so, but I will say, like, I'm not really going to use Dragonborn NPCs very much.
Sure.
And I know it's a failing of mine, but they just don't really, it feels weird to me having the set of races that I consider to be, I guess standard or like viewed as normal races, and then, there's a dude that's also a dragon. And I don't know. It's, even though I'm all about fantasy settings and such, it's hard for me to get into the mind of someone talking to a dragon like it's a normal person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sort of like, it lessens the experience of a dragon, maybe.
Sure.
Well, I would argue against that if you're when you're at the table, every player is going to have their chance to kind of be the center of attention for whatever reason it is. And if you want to play a monstrous race, well then, maybe it's not a problem all the time, but the problems that tend to be your main character moments, that's probably, that could be what they're about. So to kind of balance it for the whole party, if you got a human, an elf, a dwarf, and a displacer beast, the displacer beast is going to have to accept the fact that every now and then his moment's going to be about what the hell is this displacer beast doing in the middle of the town? Should we be concerned,
Yeah.
Well, and actually, you raise a good point. The race shouldn't necessarily define whether or not it can be played, but I don't think it's much different than playing a character who would be, say, lean towards evil, like a thief. We in one of our campaigns we had a character who was a notorious thief, and part of the tumult in the campaign was the fact that his past came back to haunt him, and so I don't think it's too much about the race as it is really how you play it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's definitely valid. I understand that this is just me not liking monstrous races is just like a weird block that I have. I guess it's my chronic M block or something. But I don't know. Just in my head, I feel like I'm always going to constantly be like, what am I supposed to do with this displacer beast?
Sure. I feel like as a player, and as somebody who likes to play things like Warforged, which aren't common in most campaigns.
I'm glaring at Jeff right now.
I mean, I feel like I would use monstrous races as a crutch than anything exciting, because I'm not really great at role playing.
Sure.
But it's like if I can be a robot, I can role play a robot because I can just go beat boop or something. Not
Jeff,
exactly.
I've
that.
already given my thoughts about Warforged being considered robots. But
right.
Go on.
I know.
So how do you guys feel about? See, I have a little bit more of a stance on that in a typical campaign. Like a Warforged definitely doesn't fit in any setting. I'm not saying that monstrous races would either, but what are your guys' thoughts on that?
About
Warforged?
Yeah,
Warforged
bringing
like
Warforged into a conventional campaign.
Well, we had a campaign where Jeff wanted to play a Warforged, and I initially was against it, but I don't ever want to tell a player, no, you can't do that unless
I said
unless
pretty,
they don't.
Please.
I mean, if they have a good reason they want to play it, I'll generally try to consider it. I won't ever just try to say like no. There was one case I did, but I think maybe I'll get to that in a second. But the difficulty for me is just that I feel that Warforged don't make sense outside of Eberron. I've gone into this at length on a previous episode, but I said yes, and then I found a way to incorporate it into the setting. And of course, it wasn't that there's just Warforged everywhere. Jeff was literally the only Warforged, and it was kind of part of the setting that like everyone knew who he was because he is that one Warforged that he's been around for a long time. So like everybody knew he existed, but people still treated him differently because he was not a living person.
Right. I wasn't brand new. The campaign had started I want to say 30 years after my character was discovered. So it was sort of okay, it's a weird thing. We don't really like it, but it's old news. So it's not it's not like every action is going to be like, what is that? It's more like, it's that thing again.
Kind of like the movie Ted.
Yeah, which again kind of goes back to the context and the backstory, which it seems like you guys played it off pretty well. So yeah,
yeah. So if a player came to me and said like, hey, I want to play a frost giant or something, I would probably, my initial reaction would probably be to try to veto it for power reasons. But if there was, because I'm not familiar with the book that has all the Player's Handbook races in it, or the Monster Manual races, but if there was a way to make it relatively balanced with the rest of the party, I would start thinking about it. I would probably try it out. But again, I would give the disclaimer that I don't know how well I'm going to incorporate this into the world. There was a time a long time ago where I had a player who he was like, I want to play a vampire. And this was the 3rd edition days where playing a vampire meant you were like 10 levels higher than everybody else.
Yeah.
And the player had never played before. So it's not like he knew the pitfalls of being a vampire. And when I asked him why he wanted to be a vampire, he said, because none of the player's handbook races are interesting. And, of course, I'm rolling my eyes like, okay, I don't think this guy knows what an interesting character is or isn't. So I didn't want to let him play a vampire because vampires specifically have so many drawbacks that make them not viable to be in a party, at least at the time. Because now everybody has to do their adventuring at night. They can't go over a river or something. There's all sorts of things, obstacles that would cause for the rest of the party. So in the end, I was able to placate him by saying, how about this? You can play a changeling, because Eberron was out at that time. I said, you can play a changeling, but we're going to reflavor it so that instead of being part doppelganger, you're part demon. And it's because of your demon side that gives you this ability to change form. And he loved that idea. He was like, yeah, man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to play the greatest character ever. And then when it came time to actually play in the session, he just sat there. He didn't do anything because he didn't know how to role play. He didn't know how to play an interesting character. He thought, kind of like, Jeff, what you were saying, he was using the character race as a crutch.
Right.
He was hoping that this is going to make my character interesting, when the most interesting character in the group by far was the human druid, because she actually knew how to play the game. So in that case, I did try to shut that down as quickly as possible, but I think that was because I got a better feel for, like, this player didn't have, in my opinion, a valid reason for wanting that. Whereas I trust Jeff. I know that if I let you play a Warforged, you're going to try to make the best of it.
I like when you said I trust Jeff, but there was some audible snickering in the background by Jeff.
Gabe, I have an idea for my next character.
Do you now?
Yeah, I want to be a Zaratan.
Oh,
Is that the colossal turtle?
That is the colossal turtle with the island on its back. Yes.
Find me some stats and I'll think about it.
Yes.
That sounds very balanced.
Yes.
Think about it. I could just we could, the adventure. The
adventure will come to you.
Exactly.
Now, I'll be honest. I am not against the idea of the party living on a Zaratan. But you only being the Zaratan and not having an actual character that will interact with the other characters, that's a bit harder to deal with.
Maybe he's like a really good illusionist and he's like projecting himself, as like a humanoid. Something.
You're getting somewhere.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. Now you got something going.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more thoughts about other playing other races and such?
No, I'm good with it as long as I feel like it's justified and it's not negatively affecting the experience for the other players.
Sure. Yeah, that is a really big thing. If you're playing a frost giant or something, and every time you guys get to a dungeon, and he won't fit through the door, well, I guess we don't get to go on this adventure. Then it's a problem.
Yeah, I feel like mechanics wise, like size is probably the biggest problem. Pun not intended.
Or if it's something like you're playing a vampire or whatever, and then every now and then I have to kill an innocent person, and now we're constantly being hunted by the guards or whatever. If the rest of the party knows that going in and they're on board with that, okay. But if that just turns out to be a result of one player's decision, that feels like it's kind of taking the campaign in a direction that I wasn't planning on. I would probably want to reevaluate that. So I think that beast race, personally, my personal sensibilities, I'm not a huge fan of beast races, but I don't ever want to tell a player straight out no. I want to get a better idea of why they want that and try to find a compromise. Well, I think that'll do it for the regular questions for today. However, we have our social media discussion question to get to. So for anybody not familiar, because we just started this a couple weeks ago, but we have, for the last year and a half, I've been posting social media questions. Every week I post a question on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, and then people can respond. But so far, there hasn't really been a way to incorporate that into the show. So we've started every week reading people's responses. Now, because of our recording schedule and how timey-wimey this is, if you don't respond within the first 24 hours, chances are it's not going to make it on the show. But this isn't just about listener responses. This is more, just to get some discussion out of the
yeah.
question among ourselves.
Yeah.
However, we do have some, the questions, the answers that have been given within the last day or two. So first, let me cover the previous question that we did on last episode was, did you ever play interactive fiction, such as text adventures? If so, what was your favorite? So Garen and Dan, did you guys have anything to share about that?
I have a couple of times. I think one of my first role-playing experiences was the fighting fantasy books, and I have a couple of the Lone Wolf books. I think they're a lot of fun.
Sure, yeah. I think, those are like choose your own adventure books, if I'm correct, if I'm not mistaken.
But you do roll dice and keep track of inventory and things like that.
Oh, you do? Sure,
cool.
sure.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like I have one. I might own one of those. I'll have to find that. Anyway, the question was more about like
The text,
like on a computer, like a text-based
adventure video game sort of thing.
Yeah. I didn't really play a ton of them when I was a little kid, but like I've gotten more into a bit more into them as we've as I've gotten more into various types.
Gabe,
of
how is not reading a book and rolling dice on the side interactive fiction?
I mean,
I
it
answered
is
your
interactive
question.
fiction.
Don't
but
shame me on your show.
I'm on your side because when Gabe brought this up when we discussed this last time, I was like, I don't know, like interactive fiction. That's I mean, you can say D&D is interactive.
No,
fiction.
I mean you're right. But I was asking this question because then there was another question that I was going to have on an episode that was, did you ever get into choose your own adventure books, which are a little bit different.
Sure.
But like there's a documentary that I watched a long time ago called Get Lamp, which is all about like the start of like Zork and Colossal Cave Adventures and those types of games. And that's more what I was talking about. But choose your own adventure books and the Lone Wolf books and fighting fantasy and all that, still, I'll take it. I'll take it. That's fine.
Yeah, and a hot dog is not a sandwich. But
Jeff,
go on,
Jeff. Shut your mouth. Anyway, so
so you guys bring out the competitive side of us. I feel like
sure.
We need more of it.
All right. So I didn't really have a ton of these that I got into when I was a kid. So I guess we can move on to the new question, which is character voices. Do you ever use one?
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Do you use them with every character?
I try to because every character is unique, and it's on our show we call them babies, and that's because we like to nurture them and bring them from the ground up. So we do like to treat each character like they're individuals, and if Garen and I had a duo of characters in our Tomb of Annihilation campaign of bounty hunters, and they both had accents from what we attempted to be from the Bayou, but really just ended up being country western accents towards the end there. So
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I always try to come up with a character voice. It doesn't always work out, and like sometimes I fall out of it. If I just can't keep it up.
Yeah.
Because some of the voices I come up with end up being like, just like they wreak havoc on my throat or something like that, and I'm just like, nah, I can't keep this up. Because right now I'm playing a lizard folk, and I'm like, yeah, he's gonna be all like, I don't know, he's gonna be all monstrous and stuff, and like I find myself not saying as much or trying to figure out ways to say less, so I don't. I don't hurt myself.
Yeah. In my library games that I've been running, we've had some fun experiences because I'm running. There's a pre-written adventure that's broken up into five little mini adventures because I only have like an hour and a half to run one of these games. So I've been running these short little mini adventures, and each one has some sort of an interesting interaction with an NPC or something. There was one adventure where the players encountered a family of Galabdur. Galabdur are these like stone elemental creatures, and so when I was introducing them to the players, they would talk like this. My name is and it was rough on my voice, but everybody they had a blast with it.
Sure, yeah.
They love those voices. And then in the most recent one, the players encountered some kobolds. And, kobolds are much easier than this. But I would still, They would talk. I always put my hands in front of my mouth, and I do a high-pitched voice when doing
Gabe's
kobold.
technique for kobold or goblin voices is he puts his hands in front of his mouth and just talks.
I make like
claw.
Make like claws out of my hands, put them in front of my mouth, and then just wiggle my fingers back and forth. I don't know what it does.
Yeah, like that makes a difference to the voice, but
Sure.
but it adds it's an added effect, and that's how kobolds talk. They talk with their hands in front of the mouth.
That's how they talk, exactly. Yeah. I was writing a book a long time ago where one of the characters heard some kobolds, and so she yelled something back in kobold, and I wrote out that she put her hands in front of her mouth for distortion. So when I'm running those, when I'm a DM especially, I try to do character voices, but as a player, I find that I generally don't. I think I should. I really should, but I usually find myself just talking with my normal voice.
So do you guys play theater of the mind, or do you guys play with miniatures and a grid? Or
Well, in a home game, I would rather do grid and miniatures. Mm-hmm. However, I do theater of the mind a lot, especially at the library, because like I don't want to have to bring. I feel like that makes the game take longer.
Yes.
If I can get across everything just through description, it's going to just be smoother all around. But if I'm doing a home game, I would much rather be able to get more granular with the tactics and everything.
Do you find yourself doing more voices and gestures and kind of what am I trying to say?
Like in a theater of the mind?
Yeah. Do you find yourself doing that a little bit more in theater of the mind?
That's a really good question, and I think the answer is yes. I think that's a big part of it, actually.
Huh. I haven't really played too much theater of the mind like games, like maybe like once or twice, but yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that might be it.
We do tend to do a good cross section of the two. We still have a grid with minis, but really only just to determine position of things for battle. But a majority, Garen, what would you say? I would say that a majority of our stuff is kind of theater of the mind-ish. Yeah,
and I would say as a DM, I had a problem for a while of just doing gruff voices for everything. So I try and think more about body posture and movements with you were just, Gabe, your whole story reminded me of that yes, sometimes it's not so much about the voice, especially if it's difficult for you to keep up, as trying to convey the character in some other way. And that could also kind of put you in the mindset.
Yeah, I agree. I remember somebody on Facebook a while ago in the 5th edition Facebook group was asking, like, it was a girl, and she was asking, if I'm trying to do a guy's voice, what if I can't speak deeply? Like, what if I can't do a deep voice? And my response was, doing a deep voice doesn't convey a male, just like doing, if I talk like this, that doesn't automatically convey that I'm playing a female. It's more about the tone of your voice, the patterns of your speech, possibly even like the way you carry your body while you're playing that character. So it's a lot more than pitch. There is a lot that goes into it. And yeah, it can really help you get into your character, which is why I feel like I should do character voices more. But I find that I don't usually.
Depending on the voice, it can take you out of the character, or it can take other people out of the game, because it's just like it's so off-putting or something. Not to say that it's like that you do a bad job with voices, Gabe. But no, it could be distracting, or if you're if you're not. Like if you do too gruff of a voice or something, like somebody might not understand you, which could be fun. It could be like, it could be part of the character's, one of his flaws is that people don't understand him very well, even though he's speaking common.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have a few responses from listeners.
Oh yeah.
So on Facebook, we got a few responses. Adam B said, I use several for all my NPCs and I use them for my PCs. Helps me get into character and always fun to try new accents. Mm-hmm. That's another thing you can, an accent. It can be a lazy way to do a character voice, but if you feel comfortable doing it, it can be a quick and easy way to just feel like someone other than yourself. So not to discourage accents. If you want to do one, go for it. John G said, I have till that character got Tourette's for allowing a god to possess him to help the party.
Oh dear.
So that'd be interesting. If a god possessed your character and gave them a different voice or whatever. Sean M said, try, yes. Successful, maybe.
Okay.
Justin H said, I use crappy Russian, crappy Middle Eastern, and crappy English. Sometimes I just change the intonation of my voice. That's really all it takes is the intonation of your voice. You can try a crappy accent if you want.
Kryptonic 901 says, every dwarf I do is Scottish. So is every human and elf and werewolf. He's Scottish.
Yes.
Dwarves are Scottish, though. I have to agree with that.
Well, yeah, that was in response to Timmy Soup on Reddit saying, as a DM, I've definitely been trying, even if it's subtle, just changing the tone of your voice or pitch. Accents can be hard, but there's a few that I can sort of do for small phrases only. If I find if I try, then the players tend to give it a go as well. That's really important. If you as the DM do it, the players are more likely to do a character voice as well.
Yeah.
So lead by example.
Yeah.
But then he ends his post by saying, remember, not all dwarves are Scottish.
No, they are. They're definitely all Scottish.
I don't think I've ever met a dwarf that wasn't Scottish. So
Yeah, I that's true. I haven't ever met a dwarf that wasn't Scottish either. There's so many dwarves I encounter on a day-to-day basis. And then just one last one, at Draker Flens on Twitter said, I try to, mainly for roleplay reasons. When I hashtag GM, I always do to help with memory cues. So that's a really good point. If you have an accent or a manner of speech that you always associate with a specific NPC, that can help the players recognize who they're dealing with. And
that can help somebody remember a character's name. Maybe they were
there
the one
you go, tying it back in up top, Jeff.
Snap. Yeah, it's like it was that Scottish dwarf. Yeah, what was his name again?
Yes. All right. So that'll do it for the discussion questions for today. Now, before we end out the episode, however, I think the four of us, we should take a deep breath.
Oh yeah.
And then let's sit back, let's relax, let's remember those who have come before us, and let's toss another log onto the funeral pyre. So now for the funeral pyre today, if I'm not mistaken, one of you two has, or both of you has a character death?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so in our Tyranny of Dragons campaign, we got to the final battle with Tiamat. And as you know, that's a pretty formidable opponent. We were all kind of doing our part to try and slay the dragon. Pun absolutely.
For the record, I was not trying to do my part to slay the dragon because I was Tiamat.
Yes.
So I was trying to kill him.
That's right.
Okay.
So basically, the rogue was, getting away with murder because they have the evasion ability as well as the ability to dash, hide, or disengage as a bonus action, which allowed him to just pop arrows off and really do some damage, especially with sneak attack and all that other stuff. So I was a dragonborn who had transitioned. I know, Gabe, I know your skin's crawling at the sound.
It's fine.
But I had transitioned actually into a homebrew dragon race over time. So I was a copper dragon at this point, the size of a young dragon. And we were in combat, and I had gone down, and Garen as Tiamat continued to, justifiably so, attack the metallic dragon even after it was down, picked it up in its jaws and ripped its head off. So my character Patrin perished by way of beheading in a dragon's mouth, one of his 5 mouths, or her 5 mouths.
Oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
Jeez.
So
I have a pun I can make, but I'll save it a moment.
It's too soon, Gabe.
Okay, sorry.
It still hurts.
Yeah, I imagine. How long ago was this?
This was November of last year.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, pretty recently.
Fairly fresh.
It is. The good news is we did slay the beast, and our paladin was able to get my head back on with a revivify spell. So that was.
Oh wow!
It was a little bit of hand waving, so Dan could be there for the end.
It was.
Sure.
It was. It was a great celebration, but yeah, I still consider that a very dramatic death.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, if I've mentioned on the show before, but like a lot of people have an issue with death being quote unquote easy to overcome, and they say that they feel like that makes death not have stakes. I feel like if somebody gets their head ripped off and then they get brought back to life and they're just walking around like everything's fine, I think the player and the DM have both made a mistake if that feels like there's no stakes. The player should be playing their character like their head just got ripped off, and they had to experience that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
If that was the halfway point of the adventure and he had had his head ripped off by any other dragon, he would have been dead for sure.
Sure.
No paladin spells are bringing him back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can definitely get behind that DM call.
Yeah, you want him to be there for the finale, that sort of thing.
You know, we had the parade in town. That was crazy. Everybody was
epilogue,
riding
yeah.
my back. I was a dragon. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, they should have made like a big float of each of your characters, and then the Dragonborn float's head should have gotten accidentally cut off.
Or it was used as a piñata and the town people knocked its head off.
Yeah,
There it is.
Yeah,
That's
there you go. That's
I like
it.
that one.
Way to subtly tell me I screwed up the end of the campaign.
So I think we will raise a glass in memory of Patron, the Dragonborn warrior. What class was he?
He was a dragonborn fighter.
Dragonborn fighter. Okay, sorry. So I think we will raise a glass in memory of Patron, the Dragonborn fighter, who just couldn't get ahead in life.
Oh, cling.
Nicely done.
I was gonna say that earlier, but I was like, oh no, I gotta save it for this.
Hold back on that.
Yes.
Hold back. Hold back.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for the episode today. If would you guys like to go ahead and plug your show once again? Your show, your Patreon, anything else you're working on?
Yes, thank you. We are the D&D Character Lab. We make new characters every week and argue over who did a better job. Our Patreon is patreon.com/D&D Character Lab. That's an N, not an and sign. We also have some products available on DM's Guild. If you look under my name, Garin Jones, GarinJones, you will find all the products that we have published. We've got some fun stuff out there like Wombo's Guide to Combos, where you and your friend can hold your actions and then attack together. That is even cooler than before, but it also has drawbacks if you fail. We've got some other stuff available as well. And that's it. Thanks for having us on the show. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, a running list of questions asked, and important links, go to interpartyconflict.com. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, our subreddit, reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, and Twitter @inpartyconflict, where I post weekly discussion questions for you. And if you answer them within the first 24 hours or so, we might include them on a future episode. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. We started a Patreon, so check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where we play video games, and it is also where we'll be putting up the stream of us playing arcade games.
Yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of arcade games, if you'd like to submit some of your childhood memories of going to the arcade, either write them to us in an email or record it yourself and send it to us that way at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also head over to bit.ly/inpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Dan and Garin, until next time.
When it comes to character creation, just remember, it doesn't have to be optimized.
It just has to be fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Gabe,
You are
Amazing.